Hey folks, welcome back. I'm David. We're here in my shop where I build Ewor guitars. This is going to be episode number 18 in the series where we're building this guy right here. And it's really turning out cool. It's a offset body design. It's going to have two humbuckers, a three-way switch, one volume, two tones. It's got a matte finish on it, really cool. It did a little kind of a coffee burst around the edge, made out of black cherry and zero coat. Did some neck stripes up the neck. It's really turning out cool. I'm loving the heck out of this thing. And so we've got the finishes done in this thing. We even did the frets last week. And now it's time to move on to the electronics for this guitar. Okay, so I'm going to do two humbuckers in this guitar, and I'm going to wind my own. I bought these kits from Stu Mac. It's the basic humbucker kit, and then you buy the magnets separate. And I've got a set of Alnico 2 magnets going in the bridge position and a set of Alnico 5 going in the neck position. Now, I'm not building my pickups because I necessarily think I could build them any better than any of these great companies out there that build pickups, because I certainly can't. But it's all part of the learning process to me of building guitars. And I thought, hey, that sounds like a challenge for me when I first thought about it a couple of years ago, to figure out exactly what goes into the pickups, and for that matter, all the electronics inside an electric guitar. So the pickups were just kind of a part of it, and I sort of dig doing it, and I really like hearing when the guitar is all said and done, when those pickups are being played, it gives you a real charge to hear that, because after all, the pickups are a huge part of the tone chain in an electric guitar that goes all the way from the, starts with the player of the guitar and it ends with the speaker and the amp, I guess. So anyway, so it's kind of a cool deal. Like I said, not that I'm saying I could do any better than anybody, but I just enjoy doing it. So this particular set of pickups, I'm going to wind with a 43 gauge poly-coated wire. Now I normally use 42 gauge, and this is 43 gauge. It's a bit thinner. I've never used it before, and I don't know, my hope is to get more winds on each bobbin, on each of these pickups, which will make them slightly hotter. I don't know how many more winds I can get. I usually go around 5,000 winds when I'm doing humbuckers with the 42 gauge. Maybe I get a little bit more on this, and that's per bobbin. Part of the reason I want to do that is I want to use a push-pull pot in my first tone, and I want to switch this, the neck pickup, between regular humbucker mode, and I want to split up the coils so I can have a single coil mode too. And so this is a CTS pot. It's a DPDT, which is a double pull, double throw switch, which basically just means I could use this switch. I could pull up the switch and have it go to single coil mode. I could push down the switch and have it go to humbucker mode. And that's going to be in the first tone position. And because I'm going to split that neck pickup, I'm going to use this 4-conductor hookup wire for my pickups, which I normally do anyway. Sometimes I'll use the single conductor that the outside braided is the ground, but I normally use this 4-wire conductor for the pickup wire. As far as the other electronics, I've got a 3-way switch. It's just a CRL 3-way switch. This one's actually a 5-way switch, but I've got a 3-way switch on the way, and I just use this so I could describe it in this little video. And then I have a volume control pot, potentiometer, which is 500K, and it's a CTS pot. And then I also have a regular 500K CTS pot that's going to go for the second tone, which will be the bridge tone. And and then I have my output jack, which is just a standard little output jack that's going to screw through this plate onto the outside of the guitar. So, and I'm going to also use an orange drop capacitor. This is a 0.223K orange drop capacitor, which is what they recommend for humbucker pickups. So anyway, I'm going to get this camera turned down now, and I'm going to start going through the process of winding these pickups. And it's a bit tedious, and I'm going to try to make it go in the video as quickly as possible. So anyway, let's get going with that right now. Okay, so this is my pickup winder here. It's pretty simple. It just has an electric motor in here. I've got a counter up here that's going to keep track of the winds going onto the bobbins. I got a little reset button down here. Like I said, small electric motor, and it's pulleyed up to a shaft up here, and that shaft spins in a couple of bearings, and my bobbin will mount on the end of this piece of aluminum right here. And what I'll do is I've got these two spacers right here that are set just a little bit narrower than a bobbin on a humbucker. I've got this all set up already. And I'll stick my bobbin up here, and the wire will feed the wires right here, and it's sitting on the spool is sitting on the floor right between my legs, and I'll feed that wire up in between these two spacers and onto this bobbin, and I will move the wire back and forth like so to spread out the wire onto the bobbin, which makes these pickups hand wound or scatter wound. So anyway, so you'll get to see this thing in operation, but the first thing I need to do with these pickups is, now these are StewMac bobbins I buy in their kits, and they're really in great shape, but I like going through it. This is a piece of 600 grit sandpaper stuck on a tongue depressor, and I like to go around and get off any of the casting marks, any seams that might be on this thing that may catch that wire, because that 43 gauge wire is very, very thin stuff. I mean, it is like super thin, and I'm always afraid of breaking the stuff, and if it catches on something, that could definitely break it. So once I get it cleaned up like that, that should be pretty much ready to go. Okay, so the next thing I have to do is I need to get this lead wire hooked onto my coil wire. Okay, this is going to be the start lead, and I need to get it soldered onto the coil wire, and then get it set into this pickup bobbin for us to wind it. So I've got these little clamps here that I'll clamp this into, get my wire over here. This is definitely some delicate stuff. So I like taking my wire, and I'll hold it here, and I'll take it, I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to wrap the wire around the bare end, and I pre-tin these, by the way, these little lead wires. I'm going to wrap it several times, maybe 12 or 15 times around, just to make sure I have good contact. Okay, once I'm satisfied with how I've got it wound on there, I've got my this is my soldering iron, and the tip is heated to 750 degrees, and this is poly-coated wire, and when the heat from the soldering iron touches that wire, it melts the poly off, and it allows the copper to be soldered and make a good connection. So I'll just heat that up for a couple of seconds. Boom, hit it with the little solder. Now that guy is soldered on there. Okay, now I'm going to get this excess wire and just snip it out of the way. Okay, now we need to get this lead wire. Here's the bottom of the bobbin, and there you can see a hole on the very end here. It's got the same corresponding hole on top. We need to feed that lead wire through this hole and have it sticking out of the bottom, where it's going to stick out, protrude about an inch, and then we're going to tape the wire inside the bobbin, and that's going to be how we start winding it. So at any rate, let's try to do that. Okay, now to get some tape on that, I like to get it in my little vise here, because this is all so fiddly stuff. Let me try to get it laying down there to the best of my ability and get it taped in place so it stays there for us. Okay, now that that's all on there and I got the piece of tape covering over that seam, I've got my little lead wire sticking out about an inch. I'm going to stick this onto the bobbin, or onto the winder rather, and I've got a little groove cut in here. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. There's a groove cut right in there for the wire to go through. Now I'm going to have to get my big fat head in the way, make sure I'm centered. Okay, so here's my wire. Now, let me set this to 0. Now I'm going to very carefully and slowly Get a couple of winds on here. Just by spinning this by hand. Okay, looks like it's lining up good. Now I'm just going to hold this wire in between my fingers, keep a little bit of tension on it. And it is coming off of the spool. That's kind of the way these things are wound on those spools, to just nicely come off. So as you can see, I'm just going back and forth, trying to keep an even pressure and trying to move consistently in between my two stoppers up here. Although the fact that it's me doing it, not a machine, means it's not very consistent. Okay, I got a couple of hundred winds on there, 150. Let me just stop and take a look. Yep, looks like it's all going on there nicely. Okay, let's keep going. And I've got a little speed dial here. There's a spot where I'm comfortable winding, which is right about there. And I'll just keep going with it, and I'll stop every few hundred turns to see what it looks like. And we're aiming for somewhere around 6,000. Okay, let's see. That is 6,100, is exactly 100 more than the other bobbin. And you know what? I think that looks pretty nice. I think we're going to stop it right there. So let me get a little piece of tape there to hold that wire. Okay, so now I want to solder my finish side onto this white lead wire, and I want it sticking past the bobbin about the same distance as the black one. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my coil wire and I'm going to wrap it as carefully as I can around the end of this white wire 10 or 12 times. Like so. I'm going to check my length, and I believe that is not terrible. So now I have to very, very carefully solder that coil wire onto the lead wire. Without making too big of a mess. Not too bad at all. But now I want to lay a piece of tape under that solder joint so it doesn't over time wear through the coil wires and short anything out. So let me stick a little one of these guys right here. I think that should protect it. Let me lay this guy here now. I think that looks okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and get one or two wraps of this tape on there just to be certain everything's held together well. Okay, that looks like a nice neat bobbin to me. Now we got to check the resistance of the thing. Let me put that down right there. I got my meter, I'm going to set it on 20,000 K resistance. Okay. And I just want to see, hopefully it's around 5.7 something. And we will find out. We got to do this now to make sure we didn't break a wire or anything in between. 5.91. 5.91. We have a good, that is a good bobbin right there. So that looks great. Okay, so now that we've got our bobbins wound and they're all good to go, it's time to get these bobbins put together in the StewMac kit and make a pickup out of it. So before we do that, I thought I'd go through real quickly and show you the tools I'm going to use, and I'm going to explain a little bit about this kit you buy from StewMac. So right here is basically the kit you get, including these two bobbins with StewMac's humbucker kits. Now this one is an Allen & Co. 2. You can tell this is the magnet, and they have a red stripe on the side of it. That's an Allen & Co. 2 bar magnet, which we'll put into this pickup. We're going to use this in the bridge position. I read something where some people like to use Allen & Co. 2. It's a bit of a rounder sound, and a lot of guys like that in a bridge pickup. First time I've ever tried it, but I'll give it a shot. The two choices were for these pickups, Allen & Co. 5 and Allen & Co. 2. I got Allen & Co. 5 going in the neck and Allen & Co. 2 going in the bridge. Anyway, so here's my two adjustable screws to attach them to the pickup ring. I've got my 6 screw pole pieces. I've got my 6 slug pole pieces. This is a little plastic shim that balances out on the other side of the, you've got the magnet and then you got that shim, and it balances out on the other side of this guy right here. This is the spacer bar that the screws go through that'll fit over here. And anyway, so that's those parts. Oh, and this is the base plate for the humbucker pickup. And of course, these screws here hang down into here and hang the thing off of the pickup ring so you can adjust it up and down. I'm going to use, in the kit you get either the braided pushback wire, which is a single conductor wire, and you use the outside as your ground, and then the inside is a single conductor. I'm going to use the 4 conductor wire, which is this guy right here. So we'll have 4 conductors. Let's see, white, green, red, and black. And also it's going to come with a separate uninsulated ground. And that's the one I'm going to use because I'm switching this neck pickup between a single coil phase, single coil mode and humbucker mode. So we need the 4 pickup wire for this one. So I'm going to use this wire here with it. And of course it came with the 2 bobbins too, which we've already wound. So now as far as my tools go, so I've got this Hakko soldering station, which is great, and I've got it, I ran it up to 750 degrees. This is really the way to go. It comes with this nice little soldering tip. In fact, I probably need a new one, and it's cool. It's got a little thing. You got a brass, like a brass wool in there that you can clean the tip. I got a little water thing here to keep the tip clean while you're soldering. I've got my solder here, which is 60-40 rosin core, and it's a very thin one. It's let me see if it says here, 0.032 inch diameter, so it's a very thin, really perfect for this type of soldering where you're soldering such fine stuff together. And of course I've got my little, this is fumbly work for a guy like me, so I've got a little, I've got my little vise here that hopefully I could use to hold it, hold the parts as I'm going. I've got my compass here, which is going to tell me the north and south of the magnet, so when I put it together I'm facing the magnet the right way. And this is my multimeter right here, which is going to tell me when we get it all put together. We're going to test it with this to make sure we've got continuity in the pickup. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to get going with this right now. Well, why don't we start by putting the slug pieces in and the screw pole pieces in here right now. So that is it. That's how I make my pickups. I labeled them here on the back just to help me remember later which one is which, but I also can use my multimeter here to check them. You notice I soldered the green and the white together, which is the way it'll be in the body of the guitar, but that leaves these two guys, the red and the black. I could always check it here. So this one has 11.74 K ohms or resistance, DC resistance, okay? And that is going to be my bridge pickup, okay? Now, this one's probably going to be a little bit hotter. This is the neck pickup. Let's check it here. Okay, 11.92, so it's just slightly hotter. And the reason I did that, normally the hotter pickup goes in the bridge, but the reason I did that in this case is because I want to split this guy here. So I attempted to wind it hotter and it came out just a tad hotter. So, but the purpose of that is so I could split it and still have decent output when only using one coil. So, but anyway, but that's it. That's how I do it. I really like that 43 gauge wire. I was concerned going into this because 42 gauge wire is thin enough. I mean, it's a very fine hair. And so 43 gauge, which is even finer, I thought I'd have trouble with it, but it was really no trouble at all. I like it because I got more coils, winds on the coils, and there was also more room in the end to like tuck in the wires and stuff like that because it didn't so fully fill the bobbin. So anyway, it was a good experience for me. I dig it. First time using Alnico 2 magnets in the bridge. I'm kind of looking forward to hearing if I can hear what that difference is. And anyway, so I hope somebody got a little something out of it. I enjoyed doing it. I'm getting a little better every time I make a set of pickups. It goes a little bit quicker and I'm a little more confident with what I do. And I enjoy it. And it's, you know, you make a set of pickups for pretty cheap in the end. Anyway, I hope you all dug it. I enjoyed doing it. I love making these videos. And if you dig this sort of thing and you'd like to see some more, how about you give me a like and subscribe and check out some of my other videos. And if you want to come back next week, we're going to be getting these guys mounted in that guitar we've been working on. Get that cool antique-ish brass hardware on it. And maybe we even get to hear what it sounds like. So anyway, in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. God bless you. And we'll see you all in the next one.